So, welcome to the Island series of Dawn of a New Era podcast. So excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me, Dawn.
Share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I'll try and keep it short. So my name's Vicky. I own a social media agency that has grown very rapidly, which I started around 2 years ago. And I would say our sort of USP is that we help brands to go mega viral. And I think that's how it grew so fast. So I started it when I was about 21 in my bedroom. I had a lot of mental health problems, which is why I started it. And I think because we were getting such large results for clients, it just scaled massively. And now I've got a team that I manage every day. We work with massive clients and I've had to adapt and learn very, very fast. Hence why I know Dawn and just sort of learn as I go. And it's been very fun, but very overwhelming.
It's been one heck of a journey. It's been a roller coaster. So, we've known each other for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot. There's been a lot that's gone on. There's been a lot of travel as well.
Yes.
Chart out what the biggest differences are, because for me, one of the biggest shifts I've seen in you is your mindset, but also your confidence shift has been massive.
Yeah.
And I just to even see how you've shown up on the island in the past few days really, really makes me feel very emotional. So how has things changed for you over the past 2 years? Like, what has been your journey?
I think it's gone from being this really small thing to this really big thing. And as you have a bigger business, you meet bigger business owners, you surround yourself with these different people and have these experiences that I didn't even know really existed. And that naturally changes your mindset. And it also makes these big things that I'll often stress about seem so small, because at the end of the day, to run a business, we all are about making money and being more driven and better people. So when there's anything outside of that that's coming in, being around people like this, you're just like, gosh, that's just so insignificant. And I think, just the difference in people I've surrounded myself with. Like when I first started out, I feel like people didn't really understand what I was doing. They weren't very supportive. There's a lot of jealousy aspects when you're doing things that are big because people aren't doing it themselves. So I think for me, just changing the people around me has been massive, and it just makes everything that I'm stressing about seem really tiny and just fixable. Like I can come to you with anything and just be like, oh, we'll just do that, and then it's fixed. So I think my mindset shift has just been massive, and I'm definitely still on a journey with it, but I think that it's massively changed in a really short space of time, and naturally you attract different people when your mindset changes, I think.
Well, I've seen you really step into your power. Definitely for me, a pivotal moment was when you stood on stage and you started your journey as a speaker. What has been the best experience about that for you?
I think just like after speaking, people came up to me and said like it made them emotional, or that they've watched my journey and they wanted to meet me, or that I've inspired them. And they were all girls that were like my age or younger, because that's like something I would watch people growing up and want to be like them. So I was like, how is this even like a real thing, that people are listening to me and they're interested in what I'm saying and that I inspire them? So people coming up to me afterwards was like a massive pinch me moment. And then I remember like I came off the stage and Laura, my sister, came up to me. She was crying. We were both crying and we were really emotional that day. And I think just like my outfit, I was in like a big pink suit and these really high heels, and I just felt like the best version of myself. I was like, I wish I could relive that day every day. But it's just when people come up to you and tell you how much of an impact you've made on their life is like crazy.
Absolutely. It makes it all worthwhile. Now, I talk about this a lot, but I always say that I believe in stepping into the best version of yourself and living that life to make it reality.
Yeah.
And that dream big, make it happen is my mantra. What has been the scariest part of making that shift in business and also in life?
I think that a lot of it is to do with like money. So like when you have a bigger business, you start making more money and the risks become bigger. So you have to invest in things that are a lot of money. And if it goes wrong, you just don't even want to think about it. But I think that people that do well, they take those risks because you can't even comprehend not running a business and going back to like working a 9-to-5 job or something like that. So I feel like one of the reasons I've done well is because I have a very delusional mindset. I've always been like that since I was a child, where I just assume everything's going to work out and everything's going to be fine. And that really triggers a lot of people. And some people don't like that I'm like that.
But that's not delusional, that's belief.
Yeah, like I'm always like, everything will be fine.
And that's a superpower.
And I think some people don't like it because if they're very realistic, they'll be like, Vic, like life isn't like that. It doesn't always go your way. But I'm just like, no, it will. And it just somehow does. Obviously, there's times when it feels like it isn't, but it works out for a reason. So I think that having that mindset has been a massive help to me, because everything I do, even if it feels really, really scary, I'll just go, it'll work out. And like, if it doesn't, something else better will come out of it. So when I have to make really big decisions, or like even in the past month, we've had to hire 3 full-time new employees. That was terrifying, but I was just like, it'll work out and it'll be fine. And it is so far. So you've just got to be really ballsy and just go in and just do it, which is scary.
And how have you found, obviously, going into offices, building a business, working with family members? What has been like the highs and lows?
I think definitely the first high was when I hired my sister to work with me full time. And now I have like my partner that works with me full time. That's like insane that I pay their salaries and they love their job. And I think as well, just when like the team say how much they love their job and I get to give them experiences and like travel with them. And I think that obviously I had a nice upbringing, but like I didn't get to do things like that. So sometimes I think because it's all happened so fast, I don't get much time to reflect. And then I'll be like on like a boat in Barbados and just be like, oh my God, I'm in a boat in Barbados and like I'm being paid to just sit here and work, and it's just crazy. But I think that it's really nice when you surround yourself with people in the same boat as you, because they celebrate that as well. Whereas people that don't want you to succeed, they make it seem like it's a small thing. So like I would speak to like my friends, my family, and be like, oh my gosh, I've done this massive thing, and they'd really downplay it. And then I think naturally you have to like compress it and not speak about it. Whereas I feel like when you connect with people that are on the same sort of path as you feel like you can just say anything and they'll be like, that's amazing, and no one's jealous of you or like a competition to you. Everyone just wants to be the best and just stay in their own lane, which is really nice.
And what has been your biggest takeaway? Obviously, we've been on the island in Oxfordshire for a few days now. What's been the biggest thing that's kind of resonated that you think, I'm going to take away, I'm going to action?
I think for me, I always have a block with habits, like, which you know I was going to say. I always have a block with habits and looking after myself. So like I'm always like, oh, I need to read more and I need to do yoga more and all this stuff. And I just don't do it because I'm like, well, instead of going to a yoga class, I could be working on the business or I could be doing this. And I just don't prioritize it. And I was speaking to Maggie and she was just like, when you think about people that are like 7, 8, 9-figure business owners, they all have habits and it's like they have to do it and it's do or die for them. She was like, that's what's going to separate you from where you are now to get you to that next point.
Yeah, it's your non-negotiables.
Yeah, and it's how you function and you have to do those things. And I think I'm thinking of that now more as like, if I do these things, that's going to make me more productive, happier, calmer. Because I think when I sometimes think of business owners or CEOs, people like joke about and be like, oh, she'll have to get a blow dry, she'll have to Pilates, like they're never working. But to me now, I understand that because I think it's more productive for me to go to a Pilates class or go and sit and have my hair done for an hour and really just relax and take time out so I can come back in the next day and be really driven than just keep going every day with the same day and being burnt out. So I think that hearing that was just a bit of like a wake-up call of like, right, this is like something I need to do now to take me to the next level, because if I'm not at my best, then the business can't be, and I'm definitely not at my best.
What is going to be the best for you and the business is a key thing, and this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So to be able to identify that obviously we need habits is core. I totally believe that the foundation to success is when you have your nervous system in regulation, habits, and you know, for me, having good habits is not me saying I want to do this. It's changing the environment so that I'm linking the habit with something that either I have really strongly established in my life, something that I know that I love doing, and I link it. It's a bit like brushing your teeth and then having that routine and then thinking, well, I'm going to add flossing to it and mouthwash.
Yeah.
So what we do as leaders and entrepreneurs is that when we find something that is in flow, that is working, we attach it to a positive habit. So I think the big shifts that I've seen obviously have been about mindset and confidence, but let's talk about the business side of things. One of the things that happened to you earlier this year is you obviously have videos that go viral. People will find that totally unattainable and it will trigger people. What has been your experience in handling the negative, like the trolling that comes with it?
At first, I am not someone that can take criticism or negativity, so I would just cry and spiral. But I think I've just tried to, like, one of the things for me that stuck with me was that people that are successful and the people I want to be like and I'm becoming like, they are not wasting their time making videos about other people, writing comments on people's posts. So as hard as it is, and like I do still struggle with it now, and I still fixate on that one bad comment versus the good ones. I just tried to just feel a bit sorry for them rather than anything else. But it's hard because especially when you're doing well, people can't believe it. They want to be in your position and they're upset that they're not in your position. So they'll try and find things. So I always notice when people aren't happy in themselves, they'll say like, oh yeah, it seems like Dawn's doing great, but have you noticed that she always does this? Like they'll find a but to like justify it. They always want to take you
down. Yeah.
They'll be like, there's no way that she can just be doing well. There's always like well, it seems, she comes from money or she does this. Like they always try and justify it.
They're seeking a validation.
Yeah, when it's just like, no, she's just doing well. And I think that because there wasn't, and there's still not loads, but I find it hard to find people my age that are at the same level as where I'm at with the business. I think when I was sharing that online, a lot of people were like, no, this is too good to be true. Like she must have come from a lot of money, or she must have like, screwed people over to get to that point sort of thing. And then it just became scary because people were just trying to find everything they could on me, and they were looking me up on like company's house and my website and trying to find my address and stuff like that. And it's so hard because you just want to make a video and justify yourself, but you shouldn't have to justify yourself.
Yeah, you're falling into their trap, and it's it's your truth, not theirs. So if you think about then the fact that there are lots of people out there who you inspire, but they feel that you're 24, how do they get there? I mean, I started my business at 21. I know what it was like. What advice would you give them to kind of make it feel like they can have this infinite possibilities and opportunities and success?
I think that, and I don't know if this, like some people might not agree with me on it, but I think that it's something that's sort of ingrained in you. So like I've always been a doer, and some people around me aren't doers, so they just prefer like a more simple life, like just clocking in, clocking out. Like they don't have that drive, and I'm like that in every phase of my life. Like if I want to paint my bedroom, I'll buy the paint today and paint it. Like I can't sit around and wait for it. So I think you have got to have an aspect of that. But I always talk about how important it is to have a really, really strong why and an end goal, because if you've not got that, it won't fire you up to do what you want to do. So like with my social media, I think when I was like 6 months into my business, it kind of started like this, then it went down a bit, and then it went back up. And when I was at the down part, that was my why, because I was like, I can't lose this, I have to carry on with it. So my drive was to save the business. So I posted every day for 30 days, loads of reels went viral, and then it got the business back up again. So I think that when people are struggling with it and they feel like their business is stagnant and they're not getting clients, they're just not pushing themselves to the hardest that they can. And I think that I do believe that you can have a balance of business and personal life, but I think in the first few years it's all about a push. You've really got to push things and sacrifice things. And loads of people say to me, and I agree with them, but like you need to look after yourself and prioritize your relationships and stuff like that. But I think you do need a bit of a sprint at the start, and then once you've got those bits managed, then you can start to calm it down a little bit more and implement these things. But I think at the start it's got to be quite like push to get where you want to get to, and you have that
there's always
goal.
going to be sacrifices. It's not all sunshine and rainbows when you start a business, and sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you have really bad challenges in business or times where you feel really knocked, that your resilience kind of really has to kind of take an extra step up? What was the one point where you just thought, do you know what, like, I've had enough? Like, have you had that in business yet, where you've just thought, I'm not sure I can go on?
Yeah, I think the more the team's grown, because I never started with the intent of having a team. I always just thought it would just be me. And now there's 6 of us. And yeah, when I've had problems before with staff, or when you've had a bad month and you're like, God, am I going to be able to pay them this month? But I think recently it's been hard because I've got my new puppy. He's like having a newborn child. There's just been such big growth recently. And I just, like, literally the other week, just, like, I had a cry in the garden. I was just like, I just can't do this. I just don't know how I'm supposed to do it. But whenever I say that, I never mean it. I'm just like, I can't do it right now. But you have, like, my why, like, I know what my why is. So it pushes me to carry on with it, because I can't give up with it, because I've come so far. But for me, the hardest part I find is running a team and being kind but authoritative and having them respect you, especially as a younger boss. People think they can take advantage of you and walk all over you. And yeah, I think that's been the biggest challenge for me.
I would agree. I think team has always been the hardest, hands down, aspect of business. And when you get that in flow, it's the most magical as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the hardest, but the best part.
Yeah.
Working obviously in social media, one of the things that lots of people want to know is, you've talked about this, what is your why? What is it? What is your bigger mission and vision?
So I think one of the reasons for me, and what I hope to get in the next few years, is at a point where I can sort of detach a little bit from the business and step away and have children, because my dream job from being a child was to be a mum. So like, I would love in the next like 2-3 years to just like be at a point where I don't need to be in the business all the time, and just take some time out and enjoy that. And I just think having a family where you just don't need to stress about money, but you don't necessarily need to be on a private jet every day and, you know, like billionaires, but just like, I'm really comfortable with money, is one of them. And I think just making an impact, like, I get so inspired by things, and I want people to have that when they listen to me speak and be like, oh my God, like, I really resonate with that. I feel really, really inspired by that, because we all watch loads of stuff online. We go to loads of talks, and sometimes you listen to it, but you don't absorb it. And I think we've all had that speaker or person where it's you've really connected with them, and something inside you's changed from that day, and it makes a massive impact in your life. And that's what I want to do with my audience now. So I think that's the direction I want to move into, is where I'm a bit less in the business and a bit more of my own personal brand, speaking, and then getting to a point where I can have little babies.
So let's talk about Toby, the newborn, the baby, the current baby, puppy.
Yes.
One of my favourite moments, which I will remember forever, is the Zoom call with Vicky, who was getting the puppy, told me, no one else knew, and I was messaging like, when's the puppy coming? When's the puppy coming? We had a call, and you literally looked like life was ending. Talk to me about like the challenges of obviously pulling in, you know, moving into a new house, having a new puppy, expanding the team, traveling. Like, what is that all like for you right now?
It's really overwhelming, and it's like, I don't have a lot of time to myself to really sit and reflect, which is what I would love to be able to do. But I think I've just tried to not be frustrated with myself. So like, when people have a puppy, they are mad, but I've just said to myself, it's not going to last forever. And me and Matt, we laugh about it. Like, even though it's so hard, and we've both been close to the point of, I'm sure he's probably had a cry somewhere behind closed doors, but we just like get into bed every night, and we just sit and laugh, and we're like, oh my God, like, we just love him so much. So I think I've just been like, it's not a forever thing, and it's okay when you own a business. Like, everyone will have a time where something really like shit hits the fan, and it's a big thing that happens, and like, you're okay to just deal with it and be stressed and be anxious for a bit and feel it. You can't just be like, no emotion, right, I have to run the team, I can't deal with this right now. So I've just been trying to just say to myself, it's not a permanent thing, and just find ways to cope. So like, we'll like co-parent, and he'll have him sometimes and I'll have him sometimes, but it doesn't have to just be fixed. Like, I'm just trying to somewhat enjoy it. Like, but I know that it'll calm down. It won't be a forever thing.
You definitely will. My puppies are now too. Paddy and Murphy are now little gems, so it will definitely come. So thinking about the past 2 years, obviously there've been some magical moments. What's been the most inspiring moment or something that someone said that you've just gone, yeah, like this is the journey I'm on?
I think just when like I meet people and they know who I am already is really weird. And it's not like a like celebrity, like, oh my God. It's more just like they know you, they're already inspired by you. So like me and Lauren went to an event, and like the host of the event, I didn't really know her, and she was just like, I was so excited that you were on the list, and oh my gosh, you've just inspired me so much. I can't believe you're here. And I was just like, oh, all right. Like I didn't even know, because I hadn't like done much speaking and stuff, but it was even just the content I was putting out. And it's happened a few times now where people are just like, oh my gosh, like I just can't believe I'm meeting you, like you're so inspiring to me. Because you don't, like, because I don't reflect much, I don't think about like, is this inspiring what I'm doing? I'm just doing my job. So I think for me that's been like a crazy moment. And just when people like a friend of a friend of a friend might be like, oh, she wanted to know this, or they wanted to DM you and stuff, and I'm like, how do they even know who I am? So that's just mad. And it makes me like so emotional, because that was like the first time that happened, is she walked away and I looked at Lauren and I was like, I feel like I'm gonna cry. It's just so weird, isn't it? Like, because you've had that as well, you know, people like, I've read your book, and you're just a bit like, what?
Yeah, I was on a plane after lockdown and I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, I can't lie, it was lovely.
Yeah.
Because the thing is it's being proud of your work, and when
Yeah.
you're in it, we forget what perception is of other people versus like reality. So our reality is that we're just doing the thing, doing the work, putting the hours in, changing lives, doing all these things.
Yeah.
And then when you connect and you meet the people that you have impacted,
Yeah.
that's when the magic happens. But the thing is that we have to celebrate those moments and be proud of it, because it's not about being elevated in social status. It's being elevated and being proud that you are making waves in your industry and you're carving this out.
Yeah.
And that is something really special, because you know, to be a business owner, there is only a few percentage of female business owners that get even past the third year. But for business owners at your level, there is even fewer. There's like 1%. And I think this is the thing that people will either embrace and you will inspire, or they could be triggered. And it's a balance, because not everybody is going to be nice. Is there a point in business over the past couple of years that you felt that someone has taken advantage of you?
Yeah, I think, and my sister Lauren, she's a great judge of character, and I think that's why we work really well together, because I just want to help people, because I know what it's like to start a business. So I offer my office up to people if they want to work somewhere. If they're like struggling to get clients, I'll give them some of my clients. And I've had to just rein that in a little bit, because you just don't know what people's intentions are, which is really sad. So yeah, I've just tried to keep people at a distance a bit first, because especially when it's business owners, like they want something out of you, or they want to know like, how can I go viral, Vic? And they want to sit down with you for a bit and things like that. So I think that, yeah, I just have to like keep my wits about me a bit more, but and not just, I always just assume the best about everyone. When I think I've also, I think like the darker side of business is that some people have really poor intentions. And another thing I always speak about is that I try not to just look at what the people are doing, because it's not real. Like I've seen firsthand when people share like their income, and that's not their income, or they'll share a client they're working with and they've never worked with that client in their life. So I just try not to compare myself to other people now, because even when I share things, sometimes like I might be like here at a retreat, but I might be stressing about something. I don't share that. So I just try to just stay in my own lane and not really let that get into my head.
So in terms of social media, things are changing a lot. Like even people are talking about TikTok not even being here at the end of the year with the changes. I mean, it's mind blowing. Where do people need to put their efforts right now? Like you talk about going viral. Is TikTok the place?
It is the place, but you can do it on Instagram. I think TikTok's just easier to do it and it's faster. But I think the beauty with TikTok is that if you go viral on there, people will find you on Instagram. So I've put all my focus into TikTok and my Instagram's grown with it. So it's like best of both worlds. But if I feel like I focused on just Instagram, I don't think anyone would go to my TikTok from my Instagram unless I physically promoted it. So I think the beauty of TikTok is the algorithm is just amazing how it works. So like I was posting like 3 times a day for 10 days and got 10,000 followers in 10 days. And that opened up brand deals, partnerships, creator fund, which you get paid for. So I think I would still utilize it and just like repurpose some of them and put them on Instagram. And that's going to be my goal next, because that will naturally grow with the TikTok. But it is scary when you think about one of those being taken away. But I think that's something I've learned as well, is that I need to have like email marketing, LinkedIn, like all these different places, not just one platform. Because if that goes, it's like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? So I need to have those all set up properly, which is what I've been trying to do. But TikTok for me has just been an absolute game changer. It's crazy how fast you can grow on there.
See, I've seen a lot of shifting creators where they worry about just being on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube and things like that. So they're using things like TikTok to cross-pollinate, to grow YouTube channels. What's your views around that?
Yeah, I do think YouTube Shorts, that's very overlooked. Like, that's a massive way of growing. And I think that's something that I might look to go down, because I always think that it is good to go somewhere that's not too overpopulated. Like, we all use Instagram and TikTok, so why not go to YouTube Shorts, because there's not many of us on there. So I think that it's good to use content from one platform and sort of repurpose it in different ways. But that's the key thing, is repurposing it, not just putting it on. So it's like making it shorter for Instagram, or like using different fonts and different texts, and like making sure you're like complying to the algorithms. Like, Instagram's all about the words and having a bit of a longer caption. TikTok's just like short and sweet and like a few hashtags, and it's really simple to use. So yeah, I think people overcomplicate social media a lot, and it doesn't need to be. And I'm always quite brutal with content, because I'm always just like, it's really simple. If the content didn't perform, it just wasn't good. And it's a really hard pill to swallow sometimes. But people will interact with things if it's a good piece of content.
I suppose it's not about getting too emotionally attached to the project and being able to learn from it, rather than like, oh my goodness, it's not performed, because some things will fly and some things won't. Who has been your biggest inspiration then on your journey? Who have you looked at and thought, oh my goodness, like I love what you're doing, be it in your space or others?
I think I found it hard at the start, because I hadn't really seen anyone that was my age doing what I was doing. So I didn't really know it was like a thing. Like I just thought of this as like getting a job anywhere else, and this is just my job. And then I think when I started to like hit bigger like months financially, like my mum used to be like, Vic, that's quite like, that's a lot of money for someone of your age. And I'd be like, is it? And then, because I had no concept, I still don't really have concept now of like what's the average job paid. Like, I don't know this, because I just went straight into doing that. So yeah, I think that just having moments like that, I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. But yeah, I suppose like I'd have people that I look up to, like Grace Beverley and like Stephen Butler and all the classic ones. But I'd say I look up to them, but I don't know if I idolize them. Like, I don't think there's anyone that I'm like, wow, like they fire me up and they make me feel like really inspired. So I think that's why I'm really pushing to be that person in my industry, because I've spoke to a lot of people my age, and they're all a bit like, yeah, I don't know, like I like this person, but I don't know if this, and I like that, but I don't know about that. So I'm hoping that I can be that person for people that are just starting out now, and I get loads of messages about how to do it and how to set up, and I don't even know what advice to give them, really, because I don't really know, to be honest. I just ended up here.
So you're going to Paris, your favourite place, in a
Yes.
couple of days' time, and your partner's taking you away for a special trip.
Yes.
So we all know that, if you didn't already, Emily in Paris.
Yes.
Tell us about your connection with the show.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. So I think for me, that was like one of the catalysts that made the business blow up, because at first I was working with like nail salons or like local cafes, local businesses that were paying me like a couple £100 a month. And then it was a really funny story. So I've always had comments my whole life saying that I look like Lily Collins, who's from Emily in Paris, if you didn't know. And I used to work at Hollister. People used to always say it to me, like all the customers and stuff. And then I was in my office and one of my friends took a video of me and just said like, POV, you work with the real life Emily in Paris. And it got like 2 million views, and all the comments were like, oh my God, I thought this was her, blah, blah, blah. And we thought it was really funny, and we just didn't really think anything of it. And then a couple of days later, I got an email from a woman, I think she's called Amanda. She was like, we like work on the like PR team for Emily in Paris that's about to come out. We're seeing a video, and we would love you to create some content for us because you look like Lily Collins, you've got a bit of a following, you work in social media. So I was like, I thought it was just like a spammy thing. So I like did some research on her and the company and stuff. And then, yeah, I just like created some content of like her looks for the show, speaking about the show a bit. And then I posted that on my social. I think it got like near to 1 million views just because I looked like her. And then just like telling people that. And I did a later post saying, I work with Netflix and this is what happened, and we work with the show. And having that credibility, other brands were like, I want a slice of this now. So then we started to attract other bigger brands. And that was like the moment for us where it opened so many doors, and where we were able to say we've worked with Netflix, and, you know, we've learned about how even posting that helps the show gain more traction. And then since then we became like a TikTok partner. So like we went to the HQ, we learn what works, what doesn't work, and then we get like referrals for clients, and TikTok themselves like recommend us to clients, which is amazing. So yeah, but I would always just say when you get one opportunity like that, like really just milk it. Like I just spoke about it so much, and we always talk about PR, and like if you get featured in the news or anything like that, like even though it will trigger people and it'll annoy people, and I know that people probably think I speak about myself all the time and I'm always posting about myself, but who else is going to? So I just post about it as much as I can, and that sticks in people's brains. Like I speak to so many people on calls, and I'd say like 50% of the calls I go on, people are like, oh, you're the Emily in Paris girl, and I'm like, yeah. Or like, oh, you're the girl that does this, you're the girl that does that, because that's the messaging that I push out so much, because people just remember it, don't they? Like if you just keep pushing, like we were saying, like if you keep pushing, like I run the best retreats in the UK, or I own the UK's best social media agency, if you put that message out like every day and you keep saying it, that's what people will think in their head. So it's just pushing it out, and it's all about perception, isn't it?
Always.
Which we love.
Always love perception. And I think it's our favourite topic.
It
is. Knowing you, obviously, I know your personality, and I know that you're very funny and you have a very dry sense of humour. But the thing is sometimes, obviously, in social media, people will see the travel, the nice outfits, the team, the social media.
Yeah.
So always on my podcast, I always ask to share the most embarrassing story that has ever happened. And this is always my favorite part of the podcast, because this is where I kind of get the inner, this is where I get like to find out kind of who is Vicky.
I've got two that stick out that are really, really, really bad that I can speak about now that I wouldn't speak about for years. So the first one was when I was in year 11, and for reference, I was like not cool or popular at school at all. I was in quite a weird group, and I just remember my friend and we were in drama class together, and we'd always like put on musicals and stuff like that, and she took a video of me singing, it was like an Ellie Goulding song from 50 Shades of Grey, and I was like really getting into it, like as a joke, like it's funny joking singing. And then remember we were like in the group chat putting in our most embarrassing videos of the year, so she put that one in the group chat, and I was like, oh my god, what's she like? And then it started to get loads of comments, and I was like, this is only supposed to go into our group chat of about 6. Why are people from like the other part of the year replying to this? And she'd put it in the year group chat. So it was like 350 people in the group chat, and she just put this video in, and everyone was like, oh my god, what a freak. Like, and I remember like the guy that I really fancied in year 11 the next day was like, nice singing, Vic, and I literally wanted to like crawl under a table. So that was bad. I cried about that for days. And then the other one was, I can't remember how old I was, probably like early teens. And again, I think there was like a boy that I really fancied that I went to tennis camp with, because I used to love tennis. And I was trying to impress him by doing like a magic trick. I don't know why I felt like compelled to do that. I didn't even know you did magic. No, I don't do magic anymore. I tried to do a magic trick for him, and I was so nervous that I started like nervous giggling, and this massive like snot rocket flew out my nose because I was so nervous. So I just started laughing, And he just went, oh, like this out my nose. And I went like this and covered it and just ran out the room. And he was like, ew. And it was just so embarrassing. And I didn't want to go back into the room. And I didn't really speak to him much after that point. But that's probably the lowest point of my life.
Have you ever had anything in a work environment where you've like been, oh my God, cringe?
I think probably just things where I've like dropped things in like a meeting that's like really serious, or I found really weirdly at the start of my career, women didn't like me. So like I would go into meetings, or like there was like a gym that I used to work in to help do their socials, and none of the female PTs used to like me at all. And I think I would just always go over the top to be nice to them. And I just embarrassed myself so many times. I was like, why did I say that? Like I should have just let them, I don't know why women are like that. I've actually had a lot more problems with women than men in business, which is usually like the other way around for people. But yeah, women don't like me in business. I don't know what it is. I just try and be friendly to everyone. I think that a lot of insecure women get threatened by other women, don't they? And
yeah, it's like holding a mirror up. And I think the thing is if you look at it like you as a mirror, what happens is if there is an insecurity or something that is triggering them, you are that mirror. So it's shining back brightly on them.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel uncomfortable. And I think the thing is so often we fall into the trap of like, well, what have we done? And like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you should never be apologetic for it because it's somebody else's problem. You know the truth. And if you're kind and authentic, that's all you've got to do to show up. So if you think about what you're doing in the next sort of year, what does that look like? Where is Vic heading?
So I just want to be on stages now. I just want to speak to people, inspire people, connect with people, and just be more of like my own person, and just do more things on my own, be more independent, and just sort of have my sister, who's now the MD, basically running the agency because it's at a really good place at the minute. So I'm hoping for socials growth, more visibility, and just doing things that I've just been saying I'm going to do for so long, because now that the agency side is covered and all the admin stuff that we all get pulled into, it's now just about like, what am I doing this for? Like, how can I get there? And just doing it and just putting myself out there, applying for things, asking people stuff, connecting with people. Because I think when I used to go on retreats or business events, because I was like the youngest there, I'd feel like I wasn't meant to be there. So I wouldn't really connect with people or follow up with people. I'd just sort of just sit and watch. But now I'm like, I deserve to be in this room. Let's connect. We got a podcast, I'll show up on your podcast. Go to an event, I'll speak at the event. So yeah, now it's just about doing the do and being proactive, I think.
Absolutely. And if someone's going to follow the journey, obviously TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yeah, I do need to be using LinkedIn more. I've got like 2,000 followers on there, which isn't bad. And my engagement's quite good, to be fair. But I do need to post on it more. So everything's Vicky.Owens, all the businesses, socially speaking media.
Amazing. So to leave a parting gift for our listeners, so this could be your favorite quote or a piece of advice, what would that be?
I just love to think about that we're all going to die.
Oh, that's uplifting.
So I just think that just have a very short time here. And I need to take this advice more myself, but like, why are we caring about other people? Like, we need to live a life that excites us. We're not stressed out. We make good money. We're secure. So yeah, I always just think back to that. Like, so many people, like, you'll get questions as well about it, like, how can I start? And I want to start social media, but I'm too scared, and all these excuses, and they all can be overruled by that. Like, if you just think about your life short, what's your reason why just doing it? That's the best thing I can say to people, is they just need to just pull the finger out and just do it.
Dream big and make it happen.
Make it happen.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much, Dawn.